Ben Simmons has been at the center of most conversations this offseason. If we're being honest, he's almost always at the center of trade discussions ever since his fallout with the Sixers management. The number one pick of 2016 hasn't featured for the Brooklyn franchise since he arrived, and there's a possibility that the Nets could trade Simmons in the offseason. We'll be taking a look at 3 possible trades that could tempt the Nets. But first, a reminder about our brand new giveaway. We're giving away a PS5 with a copy of NBA 2022 and Madden 22. All you have to do is watch the full video, leave a like, comment the keyword hidden in the video, and make sure you're subscribed. It's that simple. First up, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Brooklyn Nets receive D'Angelo Russell. Minnesota Timberwolves receive Ben Simmons. Straightforward and making a lot of sense, this deal would see the Minnesota Timberwolves landing Ben Simmons in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, who moves to Brooklyn. This is a fairly interesting trade, and you might think that the Wolves aren't in dire need of a defensive option after snatching up Rudy Gobert, but think again. So what's in it for the Timberwolves? Minnesota has always been interested in Ben Simmons, and his strengths suit them a little too perfectly. Even with the Gobert trade, we believe that the Timberwolves could make for the perfect landing spot for Simmons because the upside is simply too big to ignore. We're not going to lie, having 2 shooters start every game might just be a massive problem for any side in the league, but the Wolves have an exceptional offense that might just be elevated a step further because their defense would be impenetrable. Our money is on a select few players that could score past the combination of Gobert and Simmons, and some of them apply their trade at the Timberwolves. In fact, we might be clutching at straws here, but if there were ever a defense consisting of Gobert and Simpson, Karl Anthony Towns would be the perfect player to play in the 5 spot, especially if the floor gets cramped. You know we're right. You just don't want to accept it, huh? Anthony Edwards with Towns while Simmons and Gobert sweep at the back. We want to see it happen. And would the Nets be interested? Well, are the Nets interested in bringing D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn? Only one way to find out. There's a major upside to a player like Russell, and if they're getting rid of Simmons and bringing in Russell, it might just be 2 potential upsides in one deal. A return to the Nets for Russell? Exciting times? Some believe that bringing back Russell might just be the move that makes the Nets into genuine contenders for the NBA championships, especially if they can manage to retain the likes of KD and Kyrie, because Russell, alongside Kyrie, is the stuff of dreams. We're not going to sit here and pretend that they aren't going to be superb together. Their lack of playmaking was the biggest concern during their series loss to the Celtics, and although there aren't many better passers than Simmons, a player like Russell could be truly the better fit for the current Nets side. You can limit Kyrie and KD's shot making, but you can't limit Russell's along with those two. Next is the New York Knicks. Brooklyn Nets receive Julius Randle, Derrick Rose. New York Knicks receive Ben Simmons. Okay, this is a dream scenario for the Brooklyn Nets. Thing is, we don't know how much trade value Ben Simmons has, and we really don't want to base our opinions on his trade value on the basis of what the Nets think, because apparently their valuation of Kevin Durant is way off. So would the Knicks be interested? That's the big question. Will the Knicks be interested in a move for Ben Simmons, especially if they're losing 2 star players? We think there's a good chance that the Knicks would enter discussions with the Nets over this potential trade because it's not likely they're supremely happy with their stars. No one can ever deny Julius Randle's exceptional 2020-21 season. It's also a shame because that season might just be the greatest season Randle will ever have. Last season was the moment of truth for the 27-year-old, and he simply couldn't translate the previous years of success into anything proper, and it was underwhelming to say the least. Now, the Knicks have their own problematic star, and what could be better than a possible trade between 2 players with almost similar issues? Of course, it means losing out on Derrick Rose too, but he's been linked with a move away anyway. The Knicks will gain a lot with Ben Simmons coming in, and it's not like he's completely washed up or something. His best years are ahead of him, and he could easily strike up a great partnership with the young talent that the Knicks have at their disposal. It could be the perfect marriage of convenience between the Australian and the New York franchise and could kickstart a potential comeback for both parties. And what about the Nets? Signing Julius Randle wouldn't exactly make the Nets excited about the future, but the potential upside of the 27-year-old can't be ignored either. A bounce-back year is never out of the question for players in their peaks, but yes, he won't be a consistent star performer either. It's still a huge win if the Nets can get Randle and Rose in for Ben Simmons, a player that hasn't featured for the Nets at all. And if they can keep KD and Kyrie, that's a super team. Derrick Rose to the Nets really excites us. Yes, he's in the twilight of his career at 33, but that never means he's past his best. Over the last 2 years with the Knicks, he's been averaging a decent 13.5 points per game and 3 rebounds, which is slightly less than his career average. If you're the Nets, you definitely take that because they lack inspiration off the bench, and he's the perfect player to provide just that. Some would argue that getting in 2 finished players for the price of 1 isn't a good deal, but we only have one question for people like that: what's the guarantee that Simmons isn't finished? Finally, the Phoenix Suns. Brooklyn Nets receive DeAndre Ayton. Phoenix Suns receive Ben Simmons. You saw it coming, didn't you? We did too. This is probably probably the biggest no-brainer if the Nets are willing to let Simmons leave, and we're all ready to cheer it on. On the subject of distressed assets, what could possibly be a better trade than this? There's so much to like about this one. It's almost too good to be true. So would the Suns go for it? They should. If one thing's clear as day, it's the fact that Ayton doesn't have a long-term future or the kind of future he's envisaged at the Suns. If anything, it's one of the worst-kept secrets in the NBA that the relationship between the Suns and Ayton is beyond saving, and the only way out for the franchise is to let him go. Talking about first picks, both of them have that much in common, and we leave it up to you to decide which one was truly the worst one out of the lot. Remember, Luka Doncic went 3rd and Trae Young was 5th in the years the Suns decided to sign Ayton. That's definitely worse than the Simmons one, because the difference in quality wasn't as high in 2018. Either way, just because Luka and Trae went ballistic, it doesn't mean that Ayton's a bad player. The same can be said about Simmons, but we'll get to that later. If we're running the Phoenix franchise, we're all over this trade because bringing in Simmons suits the Suns a little too much. You get to give an extra bit of freedom to Devin Booker and Chris Paul because Ben can handle the defense with ease. It's a no-brainer, really. And what about the Nets? As for the Nets, it's a matter of finding the best possible trade, right? We're not sure if Ayton is the ideal player they could attract with Simmons, but the way we see it, it's extremely unlikely the Nets will get what they're looking for with Simmons. They should happily be accepting a player like Ayton. At least with him, they don't have to worry about injuries and unavailability. There are some injury struggles, but they're common with almost every player in the league. He's definitely more available than Simmons, and he also will add a totally different dimension to the Nets. They can make a fearsome trio of Kyrie, KD, and Ayton. Whew, now that's something we'd like to see. In fact, let's not forget that on top of KD's priority list is a move to Phoenix. If that is to materialize, could the Nets include Simmons and KD for a huge package to the Suns? Of course, if they're sending these two over, they'd be getting a wealth of picks. Alongside Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, it could just be the most blockbuster move we've ever seen in the NBA, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. Also, do the Nets fans know that Ayton averages more than 10 rebounds per game throughout his career in the NBA? Think of it as a fun fact and take it with a pinch of salt if you forget to take one at the beginning of this video. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think the Nets should be letting go of Simmons, especially when the futures of Kyrie and KD are unresolved too? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.